Hello everyone, I am Sushmita, MCom previous. Now I will be presenting the seminar topic on unstructured and participatory observation. In that first one, unstructured observation. Introduction. The unstructured observation is a diametrically opposite to the structured observation in its ideal typical formulation. The structured observation is characterized by a careful definition of the units to be observed, information to be recorded, the selection of pertinent data for observation, and standardization of conditions of observation. So, the unstructured observation is a diametrically opposite to the structured observation in its ideal typical formulation. Let's see the meaning of unstructured observation. Unstructured observation refers to a technique used in observation as device to collect primary market research data. So, unstructured observation is a technique used in observation to collect primary market research data. When observation takes place without the predetermined plan and characteristics in advance, termed as unstructured observation. Example of unstructured observation. This approach is best used to look at a single situation. For example, examining the experience of elderly people admitted to care. In this situation, the researcher will take numerous field notes and they may use tape or video recording. The unstructured observation represents ideally a contrasting situation in respect of all of this. What should be observed in highly structured studies, the well-formulated research problem or hypothesis clearly point to what data will be most relevant. But in exploratory studies, the observer does not know in advance which aspect of the situation will prove relevant. Since unstructured observation is mostly used as an exploratory technique, the observer's understanding of the situation is likely to change as he goes along. Let's see the advantages of unstructured observation. In that first one, the observer should see who the participants are, how many they are, and how they are related to one another. So, here the observers see the participants are and how many they are and how they are related to one another. Second one, the observer should understand the settings. The observer should know, in addition to its over appearance, the kinds of behavior it encourages, discourages, or prevents, and its social characteristics. Third one, the observer should also understand the purpose. The observer should understand the purpose which has brought the subject participants together, the nature of the purpose, and how the goals of the participants are related. The observer must also understand what the participants do, how, with whom, and with what they do it. So, here the observer must also understand the participants, what they are doing, how, and with whom, and with what they do it. Next one, more detailed result. Unstructured observation also helps in get a detailed results. For example, the observer should know what stimulus initiated the behavior, what the goal is towards which the behavior is directed, what are the qualities of the behavior, etc. Next is about disadvantages of unstructured observation. In that first one, greater risk. There may be a greater risk of observer bias. Second one, difficult to analyze. Products qualitative data which is more difficult to analyze. Next is about participatory observation, meaning the participatory observation means watching the events or situation or activities from inside by taking part in the group to be observed. So, here the observer freely interacts with the other group members, participants in various activities of the group, acquires the way of the life of the observed group or his own and studies their behavior or other activities not as an outsider but by becoming a member of that group. Definition: Gude and Hurt define participant observation as the procedure used by the investigator can vote if he is accepted as a member of the group. So, in this kind of observation, the observer has to stay as a member in the group he wants to study. Participant observation is a process of entering a group of people and identity to gain an understanding of their community. This is achieved by gaining knowledge and a deeper understanding of the actors, interactions, scene and events that takes place at the research site. Next is about advantages of participatory observation. In that first one, observation of natural behavior. The natural behavior of the respondent can be studied by participatory observation. So here the observer knows when a group knows what they are going to be observed by a stranger, they feel conscious, uncomfortable and therefore neutrality in their behavior and activity is lost. But in case of participant observation, the respondents do not know that they are being observed, so their behavior is not constrained by the conscious feeling of the being observed by a stranger. Second one, closeness with the group. In participant observation, the observer has a very good rapport with the respondent. Here, he has a very close primary relationship with the group members. Because of this, he can participate in all activities from a close angle and thus can better interpret the situation than a non-participant observer. Third one, studying the real character. Often, in order to study the actual behavior, the group research requires close participation and contact with the group members. In order to study the actual behavior, the group research requires close participation and contact with the group and can gain into the real character of such group. Next one, better understanding. In participant observation, the observer can better understand the feeling of the respondents than an outsider. For example, a person who is actually living in a slum area can realize the feeling and hardship of the slum dwellers in a better way than an outsider. Next one, participation provides opportunity to learn more about an event. The chief advantage of participant observations that in it the observer gets an opportunity to interact with the group regarding various activities of them. So the observer can thus learn the significance of these activities that are actually not open for observation. Let's see the disadvantages of the participatory observation. In that first one, lack of objectivity. By becoming members of group and very closely in it, the observer may lose his objectivity because his emotional and sentimental association with the group kills his impartiality and unbiased analysis. Second one is often close association brings biased interpretation. Because of this close association and emotional participation with the group members, and researcher create a special position for himself in the group. So here the researcher may be influenced or pleased by this and begins to support them blindly. Next one is misuse important issues due to familiarity. Due to much familiarity, many crucial events appear to the participant observer as of little or no significance. Therefore, he misuses many of the important issues. Due to much familiarity, participants misuse many of the important issues. So, but a stranger pays much attention even to small things as this appears new to him. Next one, limited range of experience. In participant observation, the observer is confines himself to a particular group. In participant observation, the observer him, confines himself to a particular group, so his experience becomes very deep, but the range of his experience becomes very limited. Next one is involvement in groupism. The active participation and proximity of the observer with the group may involve him in factionalism. So, the active participation and proximity of the observer with the group involve him in quarrels, so it destroys the very purpose of research, and researcher finds it very difficult to get proper information from the group. Last one is limits of participant observation. There are certain situations in which the participant observation is not possible. So there are certain situations which the participant observation is not possible to observe criminals or prisoners. Finally, I would like to conclude this. Unstructured observation produce more in-depth results as they are much harder to analyze, and there is a greater risk of observer bias. But participant observation is an effective tool in collecting anthropological data since this allows researchers to immerse in natural settings. This helps a researcher collect more reliable data and